Hey, John, how's it going?
Good. How are you, Craig?
Doing well. Things are moving along, and there's so much happening, and there's
Yeah.
so much happening in the world of AI and everything else that we follow. The talking about building nuclear reactors like IKEA furniture. We're going to be talking about unraveling the mystery of Martian signals and how a father-daughter duo figured out what NASA scientists and others couldn't. Um, we talk about the NVIDIA's finding the largest prime number
Yeah.
and how McDonald's has joined the horrible, horrible terms of service game where, you can't sue them now either. So, hey, if you eat a poison burger at McDonald's, good luck, man.
Yeah.
And what's going on with hydrogen stocks? And we got to talk about the Gladiator 2 AR popcorn buckets, which are interesting. I know. Is there
I know.
any AI news you wanted to jump in on? I know we just briefly talked about it, but didn't prep for this week, and I don't have anything off the top of my head.
Yeah, we can talk about it next week, but it looks like OpenAI is looking to get into chip manufacturing. So something to talk about next week for sure.
Yeah, that's been one of Sam Altman's long-term goals. He wanted to open his own chip fab a long time ago, and that was part of the gathering up of all the money and whatnot. And it's funny because we've been always saying the only people making money in this game is hardware companies, and what do they OpenAI want to do? Make their own hardware.
Yeah.
All right. So do we want to jump into this first one?
Yeah. Let's jump in. So this is not surprising, right? Um, like there are what's happened in the last little bit is hydrogen stocks have crashed a little bit as the initial excitement surrounding this low carbon hydrogen has faded, mostly due to high project costs, regulatory uncertainty, and weak demand, which is not surprising because there's still a lot of hurdles that need to be overcome in order for hydrogen to become mainstream. It's not mainstream yet, and there is still a lot of work, a lot of new projects that are happening. Um, the thing that I think probably affected this the most is that major energy companies like Shell and Equinor have paused their green hydrogen plans in Europe. Um, but and the other part too is that only a small percentage of hydrogen projects in North America and Europe have reached final investment decisions. But there's still a lot of potential out there. There's still um, there's a lot of growth happening, but there are challenges, right? So, what are your thoughts?
Well, it's like I haven't been following the financial sector of hydrogen, their ups and downs. So it's hard to say specifically, for me at least, what caused this. But I made some notes. Uh, oil looks like the oil prices are going down, which is interesting. It's probably
Yeah,
causing, part of this issue. Uh,
yeah,
Hydrogen stocks experienced a significant decline recently. Industry analysts had once hyped hydrogen as the green energy solution. We've got a reality check that has occurred to as technological and economic challenges have surfaced. Investors have reevaluated the viability of hydrogen fuel in the current market. And I think, some of this stuff is we thought we'd be much farther along than we are right now. Like we're
yeah,
just talking about orders for hydrogen trucks and stuff where they need to start building out the hydrogen infrastructure because it just doesn't
yeah.
really exist, right?
No,
So hydrogen fuel faces tough competition from other renewable energy sources. Government policies and subsidies play a critical role in sector sustainability, and they're all jumping in on EVs rather than hydrogen.
yeah,
Um, Future
yeah,
prospects for hydrogen depend on overcoming current technological limitations. So yeah, I mean,
yeah. There, there there was a McKinsey global energy perspective where they said that the hydrogen industry is projected to see significant growth. So I do think that there are like I think what we're seeing now is that there's a shift from project planning to potentially implementation, which could indicate more mature and realistic approach to hydrogen technology development. I don't know. But I think one of the biggest hurdles that's holding all of this back is regulatory support, and addressing the cost challenges. I think those are the two main big issues that still need to be addressed. And we've covered some things. We've covered cheaper cost of storage. We've covered cheaper production. But when we covered those, they were still in the um, like prototype, not even prototype phase for some, right? So I think once those technologies or any similar technologies um, come to light and get to commercialization stages, then we're going to see a big boost in hydrogen stocks and hydrogen investment and things like that.
Yeah, again, we expected, I think people expected that we'd be further along when you come to investors. Like, how many
Yeah,
hydrogen cars do we see on the market? And like, we've got in our area 1 or 2 pumps in the Mississauga area, and that's it. Um, and we've got public perception of it that it's expensive, it's dangerous, it's all these things. So the question is, who do you listen to, and how long does it take to come around, or will something else take its place before?
yeah, and honestly, I think that um, because the auto industry released hydrogen cars, I think people had an assumption or had expectations that things would move along much quicker.
Yeah, agreed. And these things have dropped, like you were saying, 50% plus, 53%, 58%, 65% this year. So I think that it's also part of um, the new world where reality's starting to sink in that um, along with every other startup, right? We're seeing, okay, wait a minute, we have overvalued what you are for too long, and now it's time to come back to reality from a valuation when it comes to funding. And are we going to continue to throw billions and billions at this right now? Because are we still 10 or 20 years out before we see return on investments? And if so, we're going to get a lot of investors, not, a lot more cold feet,
Yeah, yeah.
because
Um,
these companies aren't profitable yet, right?
no, they're not. They're not going to be until there's the infrastructure, until there's more adoption, until there's regulatory support, until costs come down. But that's just like any new industry that's coming up. Like there's these challenges. The difference now with hydrogen as opposed to the gas industry was that there was no internet back then. So there was no
Yep.
talk about it. But I'm guessing they had the same somewhat similar challenges back then. Or maybe not because there was less red tape back then.
Yeah, I think more realistic market valuations are necessary for sustainable investment decisions. Like, we've seen, there's reasons why this hasn't happened. We've seen the California laws, that the EV mandate. Everyone will be by 2030. Every car sold will be an EV in California. Now, the Supreme Court has said that's kind of, you can't do that. But someone hasn't challenged that yet. When I say they can't do it, is they made this
Mhm.
law. They're not allowed to make the law.
Yeah,
So somebody's going to challenge it. It'll go Congress at some point, and we'll see what happens. But I think it was short-sighted, right? When you talk about, okay, we got EVs, but what's powering the EVs? Or, is hydrogen more likely, as we start to see that the EVs aren't, the shine starting to come off the rose from people aren't buying them. The park lots are full. The resale value, all the things we talked about, and people start to see the fires, and the
yeah,
white knuckle syndrome of running out is still a big thing,
yeah.
especially here in Canada where we have winters and whatnot. You run too low, there's a big fear, and now you can get over it just by managing your charging at the right times and stuff. But still, it's all perception.
And they're not even that green though.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Like they're not green. Like I'm sorry guys, but like the cost to produce the minerals, the rare earth minerals for those batteries far exceeds the carbon output to do that far exceeds the carbon output of a car of an internal combustion engine car over its lifetime. What has happened is the EV industry has just like the diamonds, De Beers. Like they've got good marketing, they've got good lobbyists, and that's it.
Yeah, and just 18% of low carbon or renewable hydrogen projects in North America. So just 18% of U.S. low carbon or renewable hydrogen projects in North America, and only 5% of such projects in Europe aim to begin operations by 2030. So
Yeah,
we're still 6 years out before these things start to make production, and then it'll be a while before they're profitable. So, coupled with a cost increase for renewable power and electrolyzers has led to delays and cancellations projects, in particular with hydrogen projects. Remember, we were talking about some of that new technology where chrome and whatnot were making electrolysis cheaper because of the machines, because those things are expensive. I can't remember if they were millions and millions of dollars for on the bigger ones, right?
Yeah.
And
go ahead.
Yeah, and so that's part of the problems, right? These things are so expensive. They take such an initial investment to get the electrolysis machines to get the hydrogen out at scale that, and they wear down. Unless they have the titanium quote, they have this and that, and the power to do it is such that, we're just not there yet.
No. But we're getting closer. There's going to be ups and downs. There's ups and downs in every market. But I'm glad we covered this because it gives us an opportunity to kind of talk about the future and kind of have a realistic conversation about where hydrogen technology currently is and how far it still needs to go, right?
Yes.
Yeah. And I know in this article, and by no means are we giving any stock advice, but they're saying there's companies like Chart Industries, Plug Power, and Cummins are positioned for potential growth. So I know in the article they were talking about Plug Power, how it dropped, I think 53%. But yeah, do your research if you're investing, and I'm definitely going to look into them myself. So
yeah, and they're anticipating regulatory changes in 2025, both in EU, Asian countries, and North America that will facilitate this. So we'll see.
Yeah.
We shall see. All right. Any last words on this?
No.
So head over to TorontoStarts.com where the podcast points to. Check out the article on hydrogen stocks over there. And let's jump to this next one. So I didn't know anything about this until you sent me the link.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is cool. I call it gimmicky, but it's still pretty cool. So what Cinemark has done is they've unveiled. I would call it an innovative marketing strategy for Gladiator 2. By the way, Gladiator 2 apparently is phenomenal. So they've introduced an augmented reality enabled popcorn bucket that promises to revolutionize the movie theater experience. Now, the promotional item, it's. Do you have the picture up there? I don't know. Oh, yeah. It resembles the Roman Colosseum, and then what you do is there's a QR code on the side of the bucket. You scan the code, and you can witness through your phone. You can witness a virtual gladiator battle unfold before your eyes. Now, one thing to note is the graphics are not cutting edge. I would say they're reminiscent of PlayStation 2 era renderings, but this is really cool. The only thing that I'll bring up that I would be worried about is nefarious people who, I don't know, can get access to these gladiator popcorn buckets and put on their own QR code. So that's the only thing I'd be worried about. But isn't that cool?
Yeah, and if people are watching, you can kind of see the gladiators fighting in the arena. I assume that's it. This is some sort of the commercial we're watching. So
Yeah.
people to get this bucket, which
Yeah. So I guess you had to eat all your popcorn first. I never eat all my popcorn, so I don't know.
um, well, I assume if you buy the popcorn bucket, one, the popcorn, you might not actually have the popcorn in it, but two, if you do, that you bought the popcorn bucket to take home. So at some point,
Yeah,
even if you don't
for
eat
sure.
the popcorn, you'll dump the popcorn out.
For sure, probably. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
um,
But this
so
is
yeah,
cool. This is like because AR is becoming more popular. We got the AR glasses and things like that. So I think this is just the first step in marketing campaigns and using these ideas to get people back to the cinemas.
honestly, I love the idea. Like, I follow a few people on YouTube, Film Threat, and a few others, and Chris Gore. Shout out to Chris Gore over at Film Threat. He's obsessed with these popcorn buckets, and some of them
Oh
are
yeah,
like $60 a piece when you go down. And it's a honestly, it's been a boon for the theaters because with turnouts being so low in the movie industry that they had to do something to supplement their revenue, and these things are selling out all over the place.
yeah. I think so. There's a couple things too. Like it's practical and it's novel, right? Because I know there's other popcorn buckets that have come out. I think the one for Beetlejuice, it was weird. The one for Dune was weird. This one just makes sense because it is shaped like a popcorn container, essentially, right? So with just a unique shape.
Yeah, but these are collectibles. So I mean, the people go out and get the Deadpool one because it's shaped like Deadpool. I mean,
Yeah,
they're all when you say weird, I mean everyone's having fun with these things. This I love the idea of it's new and they're adding stuff to it. So in the world of AI and short films and everyone being able to make stuff, it's nothing for them to say, hey, let's put together a 10-minute or whatever virtual reality, augmented reality, and put it as part of these things and charge a premium.
yeah. Honestly, like I know, like I've gotten involved in some of this and talked about and done some AR projects with clients. That's nothing. What they developed is nothing, especially with the graphics. Like that, the cost to develop that was very minimal, and the return is going to be ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly. The cost to develop that looks, like nothing. We could develop something fairly easy that looks a lot better fairly
Yeah,
fast. I mean, and the AR projects that I've worked on were fairly extensive. I worked with some of the people doing the AR projects with Lego
yeah.
when with their Ninja Go stuff, where if you have the right thing, you have the app, and all of a sudden you're battling. You have the castle, and things are attacking the castle, and you're defending, or you're an attacker, and they're multiplayer. It's pretty cool.
Yeah.
And they're a lot better. And like the castle's on your surface. So you see these little guys attacking, crawling up from the table and across and running at the
Oh, cool.
castle and stuff. So like if you have an iPad on the tables over there that the castle's on the way of, like you'll see them crawling over that or interacting with it as it goes. So it was really cool. And that was years ago.
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's cool. Yeah, and AR has always it's still been kind of a niche market, even though it's been around for so long. Like I remember AR probably 6, 8, 9 years ago now, at
Yeah.
least.
Yeah, exactly. And this for a long time. And this says the AR animation of the two fighting gladiators reminiscent of a PlayStation 2 render for those listening and didn't have a chance to watch
Yeah,
the video. It's fun, it's exciting, it's not anything, you'll check it out once or twice out, okay. And but it leads to a whole new level of tech related to movies.
yeah, yeah,
And or collectibles of any sort. Now stop and think about Magic the Gathering cards or movie collectibles or whatever. They all have their own QR code, and you got to collect them all to put the whole story together. Um, there are a
yeah,
lot of things you can start doing from a marketing point of view, and I know they're going to eventually. It's going to be too much of a monetary scam, but the concept I really like.
yeah. Yeah, I like it too. And the reason why I bring up like it's been around for so long because Tim Hortons did an AR thing with their collectible cards. Like 6-7 years ago. It seems like AR really hasn't, as
It
far as
hasn't.
this kind of stuff, hasn't really moved forward. It's kind of stayed stagnant.
Well, we've talked about this when, Apple Vision canceled their version 2, and they're not producing any more of the current version. They're focusing on a cheaper version that's around $1,500, $1,600 US. That we
Yeah,
just did a thing on Microsoft killed their HoloLens. Bye bye. They're not doing that anymore. And everyone's moving to these AR rather than VR. But you're right. It's been a long time coming, and we're still a long way to go. People don't want to put stuff on their face.
I put the glasses on, like the, those. Remember we covered them, the
Yep.
Unreal Air.
Yep.
I put those on. I didn't even put on the Meta's glasses that we covered.
My point is they're getting better, but
Yeah.
people don't like putting ugly stuff on their face. And
No, they don't. No.
if you don't need glasses, why are you doing it? Like and when people realize you're wearing smart glasses, people like it's kind of like you're a TikToker walking around recording everybody all the time, and that's what people will think you're doing. Like
Yeah.
it's like back to, I hate to bring it up all the time, but the reason why Google Glass failed is because of the glass hole syndrome.
Yeah.
Among
Yeah.
other things, they're trying to do too many things, but we're just getting around to the technology that they were talking about way back when.
Yeah, they were. Yeah, and I think building a product that looks like just regular glasses, I think that's going to be the game changer. Like the Meta's those glasses with Ray-Ban, those have been flying off the shelves. People are buying those like hotcakes. So um, I think that, yeah, if they can make them even more useful and more glass looking like, then yeah, there's going to be a much higher adoption rate.
Anything else on this?
No.
So there's another article on torontostarts.com that I didn't bring up here for some reason. Go over and check it out. And sorry, here it is. It's got all the information you need where the podcast is going to be located. It's got all the information we talked about and the synergy between technology and tradition and where this might be heading. It's going to be interesting, I think. And if we can start putting in theater AR experiences, I think that'll start attracting people, more people out to the theater.
For sure. Yeah.
All right. So let's jump to this next one. And I think it's kind of funny because we talk about terms of service. We talk about what Adobe's done. We talk about what Disney's done. And then McDonald's does the same thing.
Yeah. So this is funny because it came to light because of the E. coli outbreak, because of their quarter pounder, the onions, I think, on their quarter pounders.
Yeah.
But yeah, so the terms of service is it pretty much almost mirrors Disney Plus's, where you can't sue them and it goes to binding arbitration. You've got to use. I think that it identifies the third party that you have to use for it too.
Yeah, it's apparently if you use the app.
Yes. Yeah. Sorry. The McDonald's app, not McDonald's itself. So this terms of service is built into the McDonald's app, which I've used to order before because you get free stuff.
Yeah.
But are you willing to trade?
Friday.
What's that?
There's free fries every Friday now to the end of the year in the app.
Oh, is there?
Yeah.
Yeah. So like they hook you in with free fries or free burgers, but if anything happens where they get you sick, well, then you're kind of SOL.
Yeah, you outlines is a 12-step to settle its dispute, so that when you click agree to terms and service, it seems you're agreeing to go through those 12 steps period if something happens to you. So, if they harm you with allergies or, probably even if employees attack you in the restaurant, then you've agreed to go through their arbitrator.
Yeah. And it's funny because remember back in the day, there was that big lawsuit where the woman burned herself with the hot cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah, no longer is that ever going to happen.
Yeah. So basically, if you want to sue McDonald's, you have to tell them in writing before anything else. And the terms you agree to seem to only work more in the restaurant's favor from there on out. McDonald's says it has 60 days to respond to written notice. If you can't work it out with McDonald's, it will go to third-party arbitrator of their choice. If the dispute is still not worked out, it seems that you agree it can go to court in Illinois without a jury, but maybe not other places. I'm not 100% sure on other states.
Yeah, I like when is the law going to catch up and say like this is not okay, or is it everything okay? Like,
Yeah, like it doesn't seem okay to us.
no. I wonder. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see if this is ever challenged in court. Well, it kind of was with Disney Plus, and then with Disney, and then they I can't remember what they did. What did they? Do you remember what they did?
Well, they backed off. Disney, they haven't changed the clause, but the lawyers backed off in as using that as a defense for that the wrongful death suit.
Yeah.
So there's more information over here on torontostarts.com about this, but just think about what you're doing. Every time you go to McDonald's now, that they've protected themselves so that if you've used their app anytime, you can't sue them now.
I'm curious now to know if there are any other of these food apps like AW or Burger King, or
if there's not one already, we should make a terms of service website that tracks a lot of this crap and puts it up there for people to see.
Yeah.
Because it's important, like the stuff we've been uncovering really about what photo bucket, they take your identity and anyone else's pictures you upload, like your retina, your fingerprint, your facial scans, and it's just like, okay, well, that we know that's Becky, and now we have all her stuff because she's your friend. It's crazy. All of it is just crazy what they're doing, and people need to be really aware of what's happening.
Yeah. So I don't know if this affects Canada, the terms of service, because it says for U.S. customers, but I don't know. I wonder if it affects people in Canada. I'll have to look at the terms of service for Canada.
Well, it says this practice is not unique. A notable commonality across industries is the inclusion of arbitration agreements in terms of service, which mandate that disputes must be resolved through arbitration rather than the court systems. This practice is not unique to McDonald's. Brands such as KFC, Burger King, and Taco Bell also employ similar clauses to deter litigation and encourage arbitration. So this, again, deep dive over there on torontostarts.com so that we check where this podcast is pointing to. And that's why, we really need to take a look that it's the whole fast food industry that seems to be using the practice of restricting consumers' ability to file class action lawsuits is, just widespread throughout the industry. Imagine that you go and eat at these places and you can't sue them. Like, that's nuts.
That's crazy. I wonder when the government's going to step in to these, but probably only when they absolutely have to.
McDonald's history with legal challenges has been both extensive and illuminating, shedding light on the complexities of the corporate strategies. Among the most talked about legal battles involved McDonald's trademark disputes, defamation cases, each contributing. A notable case, McDonald's and McSweet LLC, where McDonald's sued a small business owner for using the Mc prefix. But I don't know. These are just their history of litigation and whatnot. They're not really. Arbitration is a form of alternative dispute. All right.
Yeah.
Just be aware of what's happening here.
It's scary, and be aware that using these apps, guys, removes some of your rights as of right now. So, and It's crazy. It's crazy what these companies think they can get away with. Now, obviously, these companies are getting away with it so far, but like, I wonder what happened with Adobe's EULA, and I wonder what happened. Like, did they make changes or did they just keep it the same? And now, kind of people forgot and moved on.
And that's why I mean by, probably wouldn't take too hard with some of the stuff we're doing to monitor the pages where these things are located and flag them when changes happen and do stuff
Yeah,
based on RSS feeds. And then we can track when these changes happen.
yeah, we can do a workflow on it.
Yeah. Easy enough. All
Yeah,
right, let's jump to this next one. NVIDIA
yeah,
has just discovered the largest known prime number,
cool.
which,
Yeah,
which,
so
yeah, go ahead.
go ahead.
I was going to say it just blows past the previous record by 16 million digits.
Yes. So the cool thing about this prime number, which is Mersenne prime, it's so large that it would take over 2,000 pages to print out fully. Think about that. That's crazy. So the NVIDIA researchers, they were able to discover this because of their GPUs, their technology. But this is a significant breakthrough in the field of mathematics. Um, so how they were able to do this was because their GPU technology allows for massive parallel processing capabilities. So it showcases the company's technology prowess, but also the importance of advanced computing. Now, prime numbers, for those of you that don't know, are numbers which are only divisible by one and themselves. So they've long fascinated mathematicians, and they do have practical applications in various fields like cryptography and computer science. But yeah, this is a huge leap forward. I don't know what specific use case can be used with this huge prime number, but I'm sure there's something.
Yeah, Durant used a supercomputer comprised of thousands of GPUs in 17 different countries to
Wow.
find the number. First with an NVIDIA A100 in Ireland and later confirmed by an NVIDIA H100 in Texas. For his efforts, Durant will receive $3,000 from GIMPs.
Sorry.
Yeah.
There was something, I think it was Neil deGrasse Tyson was saying, like, scientists who are doing research for the good of of humans are are paid peanuts, whereas NBA and NHL players are paid millions and millions of dollars just for entertainment, right? So it's crazy.
I should mention, because it says this at the end of the article, the recent prime number warranted a $3,000 reward, and we laughed at that. But the first 100 million digit prime will warrant a $150,000 prize, and $250,000 for the first billion digit prime. So, all you people out there, what are you waiting
Let's
for?
do it.
Yeah.
Let's get on it. Who
So
wants to join us? Let's figure it out.
yeah, this, it marks a new era in harnessing computational power for scientific advancement. This is sounding really exciting from how we could use this in role of advanced GPU current research, how it can help with AI driven technologies. It, it at a fundamental level where we're talking about computer distribution and pulling all this stuff together, we're really now talking about being able to do almost anything with computers, and seeing this type of thing come from just a regular person leveraging these computers using a free program,
Yeah,
is amazing.
yeah, it is. It'll be interesting to see who comes up with something next. Like, who comes up with the next, and how they do it. Are they going to use quantum computers for it, or are they going to use are they going to use just a bunch of GPUs? So I'm really interested to see where this goes next.
Yeah, because we just reached this computational level, but you know, that's fantastic. But what's next? What's next? When we see Elon Musk is building the uh, most powerful AI supercomputer in the world. If he doesn't already have one, he's with over 200 H100s or whatever they are, along along with everyone else building these nuclear power plants to power their AI. This stuff is going to be just accelerate exponentially beyond what we can imagine.
Yeah, yeah. I'm excited. Yeah,
I'm excited too, because this is like it's a brave new world, and
yeah.
this is going to have huge impacts on cryptography, security. You mentioned at the beginning the future of mathematical research, all sorts of technological implications, and we'll see. This is not even using quantum computers, right? So
No, exactly. Yeah. There was actually an article that was speaking about how a regular computer beat. I think we talked about it too. Beat
we did
quantum
talk about it, yeah.
computer at certain things. Yeah,
And then we had an article that says, "Hey, finally, a thing that quantum computers are better at than normal computers." And guess what? It's
yeah,
has to do with working with quantum computers.
yeah,
So there's a great article over here on torontostarts.com on the NVIDIA's quantum leap in mathematics and what it means, the discovery of this new largest prime number. And that's what the podcast points to. It's a great article. We'd love to hear your feedback on what this
sure.
means,
Yeah,
and what you think it means for the future.
yeah.
All right. So I didn't know this, but apparently we've been getting signals from Mars.
Yeah. So this is cool. And the cool part about this article is that a father-daughter duo successfully decoded the signal that originated from Mars. So apparently this is over years, multiple years. Um, the decoded message doesn't confirm the existence of life, but provides insights into the Martian environment and potentially the planet's geological history. Um, so I like there really wasn't much about it, but it's really cool because um, apparently they used a computation model known as cellular automation to decode the message. Um, and so they processed the sequence of ones and zeros through 6,625 transformations. And this is the cool part. They used the Unity video game engine to do it.
Wow. Yeah,
So,
and
yeah, go
this
ahead.
is the message itself is a few kilobytes in size, but its content was only known by DePaulus and two others a week after receiving a signal on Earth. 400,000 people had downloaded it in an effort to decipher the code, each with their own interpretation of the alien signal. The effort to understand aliens and ourselves is not over just yet.
Yeah.
Y-
So
You know,
this is,
go ahead.
go ahead.
No, go ahead.
No, this is cool. It's great that there was a collaboration between a parent and a child making the discovery. So it showcases the power of kind of intergenerational knowledge transfer, which is really cool. I like that part the best, where it was a father daughter duo that figured this out, which is awesome.
Yeah, so this turns out, just so everyone knows, that it wasn't an alien-based signal. They decided that they would send this signal and see who could decode it, and only a few people knew it. And um, like we said, only 4 people on the planet knew what the message was, and every over 400,000 people downloaded it and tried to crack it.
Yeah, yeah.
It
So go ahead.
No, it's like I said, it's nice that it was a father and daughter team. Um, the large radio telescopes that serve as the ears to humanity are listen for fake whispers in the cosmos, um, and they're huge, right? These square kilometer arrays, like just the fact that a square, like the word kilometer is in the name, gives you an idea of how big these things are. They allow for
Yeah,
detection of exceptionally weak signals from deep space that would otherwise go undetected. So these telescopes scan the sky, um, which is interesting. Focusing on specific frequencies that are thought to be promising for extraterrestrial intelligence, such as those near hydrogen lines, which is at 1420 megahertz. Apparently, the frequency is one of the
Oh, cool.
cosmic silence where neutral celestial emissions are minimal, offering ideal channel for interstellar phone calls. So just wanted to,
Yeah,
take a look at the other side of these things. I'm always fascinated. I've always been fascinated about the SETI project. Years and years ago, I had the little, I don't know if you remember this. I'm an old man. There was an add-on you could add on your a Windows PC that while your computer wasn't working, the SETI thing would take CPU cycles to analyze the
I
signals
heard
from
about that.
space. Yeah, I
Yeah,
used to have all my machines doing that because I thought it was cool.
yeah,
Um, this is amazing, right? The fact that they were able to do it, the fact it was a father and daughter team, um, that were doing these types of things and just setting it out there and letting the world figure it out and finding new ways to use things like using Unity, like using these tools that scientists would never have done.
yeah,
I'm really fascinated by, how the two work together. To figure this out.
yeah, yeah. I'm curious what they're going to accomplish next. That's what I'm curious about. What are they going to do next? This father daughter duo. So hopefully we come across another article.
Yeah, and what I didn't see the age, and I was just kind of glancing through this.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I didn't notice the age.
yeah, so I don't, my image shows a young girl, but a daughter could be any age or almost, right?
Yeah.
So yeah, the idea though is great that so the article here on TorontoStars.com delves into the tools and techniques of decoding signals from space and how these investigations differ from their deciphering in popular science fiction. And it talks about specifically what's happened here with this signal. It, the idea that we're doing these experiments, it reminds me. Did you watch Stargate Universe at all?
No.
So, if you watch Stargate Universe, it's a common theme in many of these movies, many sci-fi futuristic thing. The one guy he uh, solved the video game that no one else was able to solve,
Oh,
and as
that
soon
was the last Starfighter.
well, that was a talent thing. This was more of a mathematical. You go to different levels and
Oh,
solve
okay.
mathematical equations, and as soon as he solved that equation, the men in black show up at his door
Huh.
and say you're working for us now and haul him off, and he's like protesting until they beam him up onto a spaceship, and he's like, what?
Interesting.
So you just start to see, are we taking the brightest minds when we do stuff like this and say this is just, um a honeypot for us to get the brightest minds and go hire them and bring them in to do these different things because they're applying again all sorts of outside analysis towards what things we wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
And I love that when they're doing these kinds of things. I'll be curious to see where they go next. This father-daughter team, if they're getting hired, if the daughter's really young, she's set for life now with this thing.
Uh-huh. Yeah.
Um,
Yeah, it'll be interesting to see.
absolutely. So we got one more,
Yeah. Yeah.
and let me switch to this. So what about hear this instead? Nuclear fusion. The new idea is an off-the-shelf reactor that you put together like IKEA furniture.
Yeah. So it's not, I wouldn't say it's too groundbreaking because I think it's taken from a design from the 70s. But so for those of you that don't know, fusion is not a viable technology right now. What is currently being used is fission. So we have nuclear fission reactors all over the world. Fusion is still that holy grail of energy, but there's a new approach to fusion reactor construction that's being developed. which is kind of like if you think about putting together IKEA furniture, assembly required. So it's called an off the shelf stellarator. And so for those of you that don't know, I don't know if you have a picture of it, but a stellarator, it's a device designed to combine plasma using magnetic fields for the purpose of achieving controlled nuclear fusion. It kind of looks like a snake donut, but a wavy donut kind of thing. It's really cool. But yeah, so the cool thing about this is it could significantly reduce the cost and complexity of building fusion reactors, which could potentially accelerate the development of fusion energy.
Yeah, there's a couple of pictures. You can see there. This one here is a 16 copper coil electromagnetic resembling a giant slices of pineapple wrapped around the stellarator shell. So that's the kind of the hosey looking thing in the middle.
Yeah.
Yeah, this was really interesting. They offer a different approach to fusion, unlike traditional tokamak devices, tokamak reactors. I always have a hard time saying tokamak.
Yeah.
The advanced algorithm stellators possess twisted coils that create stable plasma without continual adjustments. They're compact and they're constructed using standardized modular components, reducing costs significantly. So this is very cool where we're moving towards. Are we going to see real fusion soon?
I think so. We haven't covered too much fusion lately, but there have been a few articles where there have been some achievements and some advancements in fusion technology as far as sustaining and power output. But we're talking these huge, large reactors that are just kind of prototypes. So the cool thing about this is the standardization of these components for this that could lead to economies of scale in fusion reactor construction, which means that other countries, other companies could get involved and start helping to accelerate the development of fusion. And so, just a quick thing with fusion, what it's doing is you're fusing two molecules together, two atoms, right? So that's why you need all these heavy magnets and stuff. It's because you need to fuse those two to create energy, if that makes sense. So, as opposed to fission, where you're splitting atoms. So,
And apparently one of the primary utility of the stellarators is their prolonged operational stability.
oh, cool. Okay, I didn't read that. Yeah.
Yeah, so this is, I guess they don't need adjustments. They just stay functional for longer periods of time. It public outreach on nuclear fusion safety and efficacy is going to be crucial. But as we see with mobile nuclear reactors, we've been talking about that seem to be all the rage these days. That this shouldn't be too far behind.
I think it is behind because it's a whole different way of nuclear of creating energy. Um,
So when I
like
say it shouldn't be from an advocacy point of view, there shouldn't
oh
is what I'm saying is like everyone's afraid of this type of technology because we don't know what to do. But now that everyone's buying their own nuclear plants, apparently that this shouldn't be a barrier. I'm saying,
you know what? That's a great point. Yeah, like with the more widespread adoption of nuclear fission technology, absolutely. I think that this is it'll help with the adoption and the advancement of fusion technology for sure.
Costing only $640,000 in the U.S. and built in less than a year, the device stands in contrast to prominent stellarators like the Germany Wendelstein X7X, a massive tentacle machine that took $1.1 billion and more than 20 years to construct.
Yeah, and I think too, with the advancement of AI and integration with AI, I think that's going to help the development as well.
Just think about that for a minute. 1.1 billion in 20 years. We are now doing it for just over 500,000.
Yeah,
in less than a year.
it's crazy.
Yeah, this is, where advancements are crazy. The cost is going down exponentially. The time it takes to build these things are going down exponentially.
Yeah.
fusion reactions have powered the sun since it formed an estimated 4.6 billion years ago. I've seen a lot of fusion energy skeptics. I assume you're not one of them.
No, I don't think so. So the reason being is obviously I'm not an expert in the field, but if you look at and you research the materials that are used, that are and how the things are constructed, like these things are like they're able to withstand. I can't remember the ridiculous amount of temperature, but it's crazy. Um, I think this is viable, and we just need our technology and our research to get us there.
Yeah, because currently, right now, is not whether fusion can work. Physics laboratories and even individuals have successfully fused nuclei
Mm,
of hydrogen, liberating energy, but to produce more power than is
than
consumed in
the
the
input.
process.
Yeah.
Um, and currently, right now, fusing atoms isn't enough. So we'll have
No.
to see where this goes. Um, I liked it, but now that we can take what was 20 years and $1.1 billion, the next version of this is going to be half a year and less than 500,000. It becomes more accessible to people. More testing can be done, more work can be done. And all of a sudden, you're leaping forward in months what takes years before.
Yeah.
I'm really excited about this. And, containment obviously is important in fusion energy. And that's why, you're saying there's a lot of costs and that heavier atoms and the stuff to keep the containment and keep it secure.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah.
All right. So, many magnet confinement designs, including a 24.5 billion ITER reactor under construction in 2010, uses internal current flowing. Um, but this current can create instabilities, and even small instabilities in the plasma can cause it to escape confinement, leading to energy loss and potential damage to hardware. So these stelators, are great for confinement,
Yeah.
and so that stuff doesn't happen, and it costs, like, again, so much less than these other products so far.
Yeah.
Um, Amazing. There's great articles over here. Anything else you want to say about this, John?
Nope. No, I'm good. Yeah. Exciting fusion or fission or fusion news. Sorry. Yeah.
Absolutely. And there's an article on torontostarts.com about this, and a little piece of, like, looking like something you could assemble.
Yeah.
That goes into all of these things we just talked about, that the tokamak was originally developed in the late 1950s, has been improved upon by Stellator's design by introducing toroidal magnetic field combine with strong current through the plasma. There's a bunch of stuff. So if you want to understand it and dive deep, there's an article here on torontostarts.com where this podcast is located. So definitely go check that out.
Yeah.
So, John, what do you got going on?
Absolutely nothing. Just working away here, and yeah, it's been great taking a break from the social scene and networking and things like that. So, how about you?
Well, we definitely have Startup Investor Drinks on November 14th at Workhouse. It might be our last one at that Workhouse location, so people should come on out.
Yeah.
I'm not sure if we're going to be able to host a December one at that location or not, but so November might be our last one. We've also got that Consulta in the Know meetup on the 18th,
Oh,
which
that's
should be
right. I'll be
interesting.
going to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Consultant in the know. Yeah.
Yeah. Other than that, been just working on the stuff, you and I've been working on a few things, plus,
Yeah.
keeping everything else afloat. So there's a lot going on.
Yeah. It's great.
So everyone check out torontostarts.com. Check out startupdrinks.to.com for tickets to Startup Investor Drinks. And reach out to John Irwin on LinkedIn if you're looking for non-dilutive funding for your company.
Yeah. Yeah, and if you need any help with getting your startup off the ground, reach out to Craig, the startup coach. He's great. He'll review your pitch decks. He'll He'll work with you to get your why figured out. Yeah.
And thanks everyone for joining us today.
Thank you.